Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm so happy to have you. So my previous subscribers, welcome back to the channel. So for today's video in particular, we're going to be talking about the former vice president. Today, she's announced publicly that she is declining a run for the California governorship. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the possibility of her preparing for the 2028 presidential election and whether or not she meets this quote unquote young male. Now, you guys may have been with me for quite a while, where I spoke about how, in order for her to run and win the next election, or whenever election she decides to seek the presidency, she needs to speak to a young male. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Did Harris meet a young male, whether it's publicly or behind the scenes, that maybe it convinced her, or maybe had better yet, is on her team, maybe it's statistical. We don't really know what Harris had met, but we can try to figure out, did she meet this young male, to try to understand whether or not she's running in 2028 and what this might mean, what it's gonna look like. We are gonna access her Akashic records for her future and find out, is she gonna be president? The cards have always said yes. So we're gonna take a look at that. We're gonna find out what that's gonna look like. What is her presidency gonna entail? What is her struggle? What are the possibilities? So we're not only going to explore the possibility of her running in 2028, but what if she doesn't win? What if she does win? What if the election is contested? What if the America that we have now is not the same governmental system that we have 4 years from now? And so that's why we're all going to explore all these variables to better understand where we're going to be 4 years from now. It's going to be very hard to kind of pinpoint, but based on what I've done in the past, it has been somewhat accurate. The more probability, the more open you are to things occurring, the more likely you are to have one of those outcomes occur. So that's what we're going to talk about today. This is not a prediction video. This is a video that explores all the energies, all the frequencies that's the most relative and most closer to our reality that we could possibly enter into. So stick tight, have fun, engage in the comment section, interact with each other, and we're going to get on with it. So this video is being recorded on Thursday, July 31st at 9:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as of when I'm recording this video. This video is just for entertainment and for educational purposes only as well. Anything I do or say is just related to this video and the video topic, nothing in relation to the Harris campaign in particular. I have no connection to her in any way. What else? Oh, if you want to be notified when I do post and upload, go into the comment section below or the description and click the notification bell. And also follow my Blue Sky account or my Facebook group to be notified when I do post and upload next. All right, guys, so let's get on with it. Let's figure out what's going to happen, and let's just go ahead. Straight on. Let's do this. I don't want to waste your time. All right, so Spirit Angels, tell me about Harris. Kamala Harris, the former Vice President of the United States, has announced that she is declining a run for the governorship, for the California governorship. Is this indicating that she has intention to run for higher office? Okay, so a couple lives ago we used this deck, and I never really put the cards away because I'm lazy. So I'm gonna quickly shuffle this, and then we are going to read on that. All right, so Spirit Angels, tell me about Harris and a possibility of her. What is she gonna do now that she announced publicly that she is not running for the California governorship? Is she seeking the presidency? Is Harris seeking the presidency? Ooh, okay. It's a debate. I don't think she made a decision yet. Right now, the bottom deck is employment services. Hello, Owen. Hello, Nathan. Employment services. The top of the deck is Queen of Cups. This is a woman march. This is a woman out on a campaign trail. Right? And here you have is the moon. Her intention is hidden. Because this card is reversed and the moon card is upright, what's it call it? And this is telling me here that her intention to run is hidden from the public. I don't think she's going to tell people until she's ready if she's running for the presidency or not. Because here's the star card reverse. Right, here's the star card. It may appear one way, But the water showed a different reflection. It shows something else. I wouldn't like bet on it right now. I wouldn't bet on anything. Right now, she's still in her decision making. It's the star card reversed. Something is not right, if that makes any sense. Something doesn't appear right. What doesn't appear right? We have another woman speaking on the podium reverse. There's something here. Goldman Sachs, Queen of Coins. So it has to do with women. Women, it almost feels like, in a way, she feels like she can't speak. And I feel, and I can't speak for Harris, but it feels like she feels scared to speak. Like if she speaks, something could stop her or derail her presidential campaign. And what I mean is that, for example, if she announced too early, this gives the enemy traction to oppose her. It gives the enemy the ability to remove her or to jail her or to ostracize her in some way. And so in some way, I'm feeling like there is a restriction and a clotting around the throat, where she cannot speak. There's a restriction here in her decision. Hello, Zen. And so that's what I'm getting. So this card they're asking is she going to seek the 2020 presidential election? Whereas this rose asking, what is her path? What is she going to do? Right? The first card we have is the Page of Wands. Now, if you guys are fairly familiar with my cards and the way I read, the Page of Wands reverse always indicates to me a new leadership, a new movement, a new direction, a new path forward. Right now, there's not that energy. There's not a new leader. We have somebody we had before in office, right? It's not someone new. This is the Page of Wands. This is leadership in reverse. And in that cards we also have here as well, we have the Hierophant. And the Hierophant comes in and the Two of Swords reversed. And the Hierophant is indicated to me, at least in particularly, the government is a decision. So she made a decision in terms of governmental roles, which means that government has, she feels that, okay, so these are two different things I'm getting. That the Page of Wands in reverse is telling me in one thing, is that she feels like the country does not want a new leader right now, right? They want the old system. The Hierophant card comes in, meaning the government and decision. Now, this means indecisive, right? But the Hierophant card on top of the Two of Swords reverse is telling me a little bit different. It's telling me that the government had already made the decision among a leadership role. Now, this is again talking about somebody who has already been in power before. This is not talking about somebody who has not been in power, which means the government is making a decision on behalf of the people, if that makes any sense. Because the next card that we get is the Two of Wands here. This is somebody who launched an exploratory committee. This is somebody who's actually engaged in behavior that sets them up or sets up a rumors for the plausibility and the possibility of a presidential run. This is Two of Wands reversed. Now, this is very interesting because this contradicts what I talked about in my community post. I talked about how when you look at Harris's Instagram post, she took down all the 2020 campaign highlights and all those things that she did during 2024. She removed all of it. It's gone. It's done. And normally that type of behavior indicates that she is intentionally trying to set herself up or position herself up to run for the 2028 presidential election. But the cards are telling me here that there's a leader in position of power who, by the government already made a decision on behalf of the people, and she feels restricted. It makes a lot of sense. She feels very restricted in a way where she doesn't feel like she has a voice or that she can be a voice for some people. I don't know if this is mentally, I don't know if this is consciously, I don't know if this is how people feel about her. I can't speak on that. But that's what the energy is telling me. This is a card that always indicates to me exploratory committee, but it's reversed. This doesn't tell me that, this doesn't act like somebody who wants to exploit. It feels like somebody who is in the shadow, is behind the scenes, someone who is hidden. Hello, Darker. Darkor. I think I mispronounced your name. And then we also have here as well as we have the Four of Pentacles here. The Four of Pentacles means money cannot convince her. So if she was to announce this, she wouldn't do this because of money. She wouldn't do this because people are willing to donate to her. People are willing to back her. This has nothing to do with this. This has to do with a personal issue. This has to do with something that she feels, that she knows internally that we're not aware of. There's something here about Harris that she's not telling people. And it's her absolute right not to tell people. This video is just for entertainment purposes and educational purposes only. But there's just something here that making her decision for her. But she's also trying to hide. She's in hiding. She's like almost like it feels like survival, if you will. Eventually, if she was to announce she's running, I would most likely expect that in 2027, if she was to announce that she's running for president. But I wouldn't expect it anytime sooner than that, because that's what the energy feels like. She's in hiding mode. It feels like she's hiding. That's what it feels like. And underneath this is a page of wands here reversed, which means new leadership. This means the old leadership because it's reversed. Then we have here the government already making decision, already made it. That we know it's they already made it because it's certain, it's already happened. We have the Lovers card reversed. This is the Supreme Court. Okay. We also have here as well accomplishment, 9 of coins reversed. This is a darker color woman, right? A darker tone, darker skin tone, right? It indicates Harris, right? But it indicates the yellow card. Now, what does yellow symbolize? The yellow symbolizes the solar plexus, the eye color, the color that means your what's it called, underneath your diagram, right? Underneath your heart. It represents your diagram in some way, but it represents yellow. It represents confidence. It represents I do. It's reverse. Again, it's reversed. It makes sense because this is a government. This is a governmental institution. The government has been turned upside down. The Lovers card is reversed upside down. Then we also have here, we have the 9 of Pentacles reversed. This is confidence, but it's reversed. It's saying here, I don't do. And this is somebody who's out in the open. This is a celebrity. This is Oprah Winfrey. This is somebody who's out and open in the public eye. Right? This is showing off your achievement. This is you being out there. This is somebody who's hiding. And why they're hiding? It's government. There's something with the government that's making her hide. Not that she's a coward. That's not what I'm saying. But it feels like something is making her hide. Right? She will emerge absolutely like a phoenix, but right now she's in hiding. She's in hiding right now. It makes sense because look, we also have this girl here who's reversed. This is also reversed. This is the girl who stood and was the opposition leader. She was the resistance leader, right? This is a woman of a voice, right? You see all these people? It's reversed right now. The Taurus card is reversed. There's something here. And this is the challenge. This is the challenge here. This is the voice. And also, it's gold. This gold color would also symbolize the solar plexus, which means in some way or some form, she doesn't feel like she can speak openly and publicly about possibly criticizing the presidency or anything. She feels restricted in that nature, right? And we also have here, we have the world upside down. The world card reversed. And it's interesting because it comes right after the government decision. This makes a lot of sense because remember how I said this card, the Page of Wands, represented the people not wanting a new leader and an old leader from an old timeline came right in. That was Donald Trump. Then you have the government maybe making a decision and her feeling like she cannot criticize the government or the governmental institution. Therefore, she feels restricted. Her throat chakra is closed. She feels like she cannot criticize openly. She cannot be part of that resistance, if you will. That could be her mental state. It doesn't have to be how it is going to be in real life, but that doesn't mean that's not what's going on in her mental state. And we have here as well, we have the World card reversed. This is interesting because, again, we also have the World card here, and it's also reversed. This is the card that represents exploratory committee. What does she know internally? She understands that the world is upside down. That's without a doubt. She understands that. She gets that. She knows that. But is telling me here that she's in hiding right now. That's why the world card is reversed. Something is dark, and she's aware of something that's dark. But she hasn't told anybody about what that darkness is. And underneath this Four of Pentacles is indicating that nothing can convince her, not money can convince her. But if she does decide to run, she's going to run on her own merits. Not because somebody gave her money, but because somebody has to convince her. Now, it's interesting because remember I talked about how a young male, if she meets a young male and that's going to propel her to the presidency, in some way, that's what this is indicating. It's indicating she needs someone to do the convincing. Somebody needs to convince her. It makes sense too, because we have the Empress card. This is a woman in a chair who's reversed. This is Melania Trump. Is that Melania Trump? It could be Ivanka, I have no idea. But it's reversed. And normally when the chair is reversed, it indicates to all of us, it indicates, okay, this person is not in a position of power, this person is not in control, this person is just not in power right now. This is reversed. This is the Empress card reversed. It makes a lot of sense because she's not in power, she's not in control right now. We have the Magician. This is somebody who then explores something. But what is interesting about this card? What's really interesting? Well, first of all, you have the telescope. Then you have the scorpion and the rat. What's it? The predator and prey. And then you also have the reversed American flag. What does the reversed American flag indicate? It indicates anarchy. It indicates what to call it? Dissatisfaction within the nation. So if she was to declare her presidential run, and this is kind of like where she's going to be in the future, if she was to do this, it's going to take place in a time where people are drastically dissatisfied with the administration. Right? And here you have is the Wheel of Fortune, things turn backward. Now, what does the Wheel of Fortune indicate? The Wheel of Fortune indicates things go backwards. What was the previous administration before Trump? It was Democrat, right? That's what the Wheel of Fortune is indicating. So if Harris decides to open up an exploratory committee here and understand that the world is upside down, she could very well become the next president, or become president after Trump, or whenever this Republican term ends. But that's what this card is indicating. It's indicating something. It's indicating that there is a struggle here. It's not easy flowing. It's not like the other presidential elections where you can openly criticize everything in the United States. Freedom of speech is limited. We are now in a surveillance state. Freedom of speech is limited now. Then it also applies very heavily to politicians, right? Again, I'm not here to, incite you. I'm not here to lie to you, right? I'm not here to make you think that she's running or make you think she's not running. I'm just reading the energy, and sometimes energy can be overpowered by the mental state. This could be what's in her mind, right? So keep that in mind when you hear me say something, right, that you may not agree with, you may not want to hear. Listen, I agree with you. Sometimes we need to hear the truth, sometimes the open truth. Half the time when I do my reading, it does not agree with my own opinion. And that's okay, because that's how it should be. If you're reading and it always agrees with you, then somewhere along the line, you're being biased. You're not telling the full truth to yourself, right? So, now that we have this card here, let's ask Spirit. Who is this young man? I'm hearing Stephen Colbert. How young is Stephen Colbert? Doesn't she have an interview with him? I probably should have did this video after that interview, whenever that interview is. But it feels like something shifts. There's a shift coming for her. A decision, something's going to greenlit in her brain. Because as of when I'm recording, it's Thursday, July 31st, at 9 o'clock, 9:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it feels like something clicked in her. Stephen Colbert, why? Why Stephen Colbert? What does he have that convinces her? Let me read my book. Let me see if I can get some information on that. Let's see. Okay, so this is the one that was channeled on January the 9th, 2025 at 2:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And on the bottom, the back of the book, or at least the next page, it says here, Harris may take her rightful place, but not before she finds and meets a young male. Tim Waltz is not likely to become vice president, as I have other plans for him. And then it goes on here, it says many women will lose their rights so that they themselves can be prepared and ready to usher in the first woman president. So that explains why there's a restriction in her voice. Possibly, and it relates directly to the government. What if, and hear me out here, what if there is a restriction of women's ability to voice their concern, to voice openly or feel like they can actually speak? Even if the government is not openly restricting or banning their ability to speak, but rather making it difficult. The best way I can compare this to is a predator, right? You all know Donald Trump is one. And so think about how it took so long for victims of the Epstein trial files and all that stuff like that to really come out, feel comfortable that they can actually speak about those things. Think about that. That's what it feels like for it to be a woman. But imagine that not only on those who've been sexually abused, but also on a larger, grander scale where people talk about their concern about the government not feeling like they're being heard. Right? Women felt like this in 1950s onwards. That's why we progressed for a lot of women. But almost in a way, the clock turns back. And that's the worst time to turn back because the government makes it hard to speak. Government makes it difficult to want to speak. And sometimes when you have a woman running for president, you need somebody who's willing to take that risk. Not saying Harris is not going to take that risk, but you sometimes women who feel voiceless need somebody to be the voice for them. And sometimes it's easier said than done to have a woman do it. Sometimes a man can do it. But I do want to also put this out as well. Not all women support other women. The same way gays don't always support every gay, right? So keep that in mind as well. Just because you see another woman doesn't mean that they're your ally. Sometimes they could be your enemy. So they may look like you, they may act like you, but that doesn't mean that you're ally. So keep that in mind. Now, going back into the cards here, we're trying to find out who this young male is. And I kept getting an indication here that it has to do with a celebrity. It has to do with a well-known figure. Somebody of great importance. Right? Somebody with a verbose or a verbose. I don't know what the proper word or terminology here is. But it feels like this is somebody of great importance. This is somebody with great influence. I got the trigger, I guess, insinuated and implanted, whether it's seated in Harris's brain when she meets Stephen Colbert, right? Whatever this is, there is something being seated in her brain, a thought process, an understanding. Oh, I never thought about that. Huh. Something triggers her to think about something in a way that she didn't perceive it before, to give her a different perspective on something that she didn't get to see, or she didn't come to that realization, or people around her didn't have that same conclusion. Sometimes it's better to seek outside advice because you never know if you can expand, if there's room to grow. But it does indicate here that Harris does have room to grow. And that whatever she's going on, because the card did indicate Stephen Colbert, it doesn't indicate he's a young male, but it indicates he's the indication of that young male, which means that he may have traits of this young male that she's going to meet. It might indicate that she might meet a young male, possibly during the live show, or possibly down the line, or make it on somebody's radar, right? But this is the Knight of Cups. And then that card is the Wheel of Fortune. Going back, she's going to be talking about she's going to be talking to somebody, and this has to do with somebody who was a former Republican who now turned to a Democrat. So she's going to work closely with them for some particular reason. I wonder if there's a unity ticket here, like a unity ticket, or there's an idea to create some sort of bipartisanship. Whatever it is, there is a motion here set by her. Like you see here, you have the Democrat here. She's not paying attention to the coin. She's not paying attention to the money, to the donation. But you have here someone on the top of the wheel, someone moving the story. This is the Republican. While the Republicans are too busy working on money and infrastructure, she's playing her cards, right? She's putting her cards out in the open. This is okay. This is what I want you to think I'm doing, but this is what I'm really doing behind the scenes, right? So Harris, again, is creating this illusion to not let the enemy know her next step. It kind of seemed like that's on par with what we talked about earlier in the video, where it felt like she felt restricted, she's in hiding, she doesn't want the enemy to know her next step because it gives them the ability to acredize her, to destroy her image or stuff like that. So by delaying that and postponing it, you're preventing the enemy to have that power and control and influence. Because right now we have a lot of influence in the media, but not for progressiveness, but rather for the conservative side. I always said this from the very beginning. I always said CNN was conservative. I always said MSNBC was. I said Fox News, all those things. People were like, what are you talking about? Only Fox News. I was like, no. A lot of them are conservative. You just don't see it yet. I just knew in advance. But you know, that's where we're at as a society. And we also have here as well, we have the high priestess in reverse. This is somebody who doesn't operate on the same lines of the Constitution. So this young male is not somebody of a constitutional scholar, or he may not have a constitutional background. This is somebody who does something outside the norms, right? So this young male is somebody outside the norm, somebody who does not follow the traditional rule of law or the traditional status quo, but it's an outsider, if you will, right? And in that card here, you have the Sun card. The Sun does come out. This is a person of great charisma. This is somebody of great potential. This is somebody who talked about the future in a way that you really want to live in, that you really want to experience. This is somebody who's very charismatic, and they talk about, oh, imagine we live in a society like this where we have apples on the trees and you're able to just go and just pick it and just eat and just enjoy things. You don't have to be taxing everything. Like, doesn't that sound like a great society? And this kind of feels like the ambiance of this type of young male energy, this young male that Harris has to meet in order to propel her to the presidency. She needs to meet this young male, this young figure who's going to do that, who can show her that there is a possibility, that there is a greater way to dream, that there is a bigger way to dream. It's like the best way I could put it is like Martin Luther King, where he said, I have a dream. And he laid out the foundation of what the world could look like. Think of that type of icon, that type of momentous figure, somebody of great importance, a historical figure. That's what she needs. She needs somebody like that, somebody to show her the way. Because she has the cards, she has the political experience, she has the apparatus, she has the story. The young male is going to be triggered after her meeting with Stephen Colbert, which is the Knight of Cups. And then something gets wheeled back to the past. She shows something to the world, but hides what she's really doing, right? To not give the enemy ammunition, to delay them from having the power and control to control the outcome. And you have somebody of an outsider, somebody who isn't exactly well known, or possibly even better yet, this is somebody who does not follow the rule of law, because why would you follow the Constitution if the President of the United States won't even follow it? And the Supreme Court won't even enforce it? What purpose does the Constitution have? You get what I'm saying? And then the final card here is the Sun card. This is somebody of great charisma. This is somebody of great importance. This is somebody who talks about the future in a way of not of despair or bad things, but really makes you want to live in that world, to make you really want to see, oh, life can actually be better. We can dream it. We can see it. I can envision it. Somebody who's an visionary, right? So that is who this young male is. This is somebody who she's going to have to meet if she wants the presidency, right? So we have here as well, some of you guys asked me, and I think it's a really great question to ask. Let's see. Somebody wants to know if it's possible that what's restricting Harris from running for the presidency could be due to the possibility of death threats. We're going to take a look at that. Is she being threatened, and is that preventing her from feeling like she can run? Spirit angel tell me is Harris, the former vice president, feel like she cannot run, or she feel like she's being threatened. So she cannot feel like she can freely run. If that's what's going on. Excuse me. If that's what's going on. Okay, so we have the Nine of Pentacles reversed. We have here Knight of Pentacles, Three of Pentacles. We have the Hanged Man. This is an assassination attempt, or at least the talks of it, but it feels like someone has been intercepted. This is the Nine of Pentacles. These are death threats, but these are death threats that feels like they get sent, but they never actually get to her. These are things that get intercepted, or they fail to get delivered, or like sometimes when you get you email and you get in your junk mail, like that. Like you don't see it, but it ends up in a different folder. It ends up disappearing, not out of view, out of mind, out of perception, right? But these are a lot of hate mail. This is the Nine of Pentacles reverse, and here you have it, the Nine of Pentacles. There was one in particular that shook her to her core. One in particular that shook her to her core. It probably felt like it was the darkest of the darkest, and it felt like this one was not like the others. This one was rooted and calibrated. This is somebody of great premeditation. This is somebody who thought this out to its detail, to the nine. This is somebody who did this death threats, but did it on the formation of the dark web. This is somebody who has her body or her soul or her skin or whatever, and is marketing it on this dark web. And she feels that, she knows that this is something darker. This specific death threat was dark. Now, there is no indication of who this might be, but I was getting indication as well. This also has to relate to the Trump campaign in some way, particularly in the relation that it feels like he was threatening to lock her up. Now, the thing is that Harris didn't feel at the time when Donald Trump said that he was going to lock her up, whether it was publicly or behind the scene, she didn't internally believe that. She kind of laughed it off a little bit, particularly because he said about Clinton back in 2016, and she never got locked up. Right? So that is that energy there. Oh, you'll never do that. I can't believe. I know you're just joking, you're messing around, but no. Donald Trump is actually serious. Right? And here we have the Three of Pentacles here. She got three particular ones, and she actually tried to report this, but it got thrown out. This must have took place after Trump got elected, and when the new DOJ came into office, and this was thrown out. And here you have a revitalization. This is an enlightenment. This is an awareness. She becomes aware. Oh, she feels aware now that she has won. This is victory. So she gets this illumination that she won. The reason why she's being threatened, because she pieced the two together, that the reason why she's being threatened is because she was the victor. She won. And by eliminating the victor, God forbid anything was to come out, if you eliminate the victor, you cannot have the momentum. Something prevents you from having that momentum, right? And it's interesting too, because the story was not unfamiliar. Remember, we're in Pluto return, and Pluto return indicates revisitation of stories in the U.S., right? What happened in, oh my God, Tilton versus Hayes, right? I think it was Ruther B. Hayes. And Ruther B. Hayes, the Republican president, was a criminal. He was a felon. And he was being ran by a Democrat who was the prosecutor. What happened in that election? The election was so close, it had to go to, I think it didn't go to the Supreme Court at the time, but it ended up going to independent federal commission, and a Supreme Court judge or judge in that federal independent commission had died, and the Congress or whatever Republican institution appointed another Republican or conservative leading judge, and they ended up siding with the felon, right? So the story is that even though the Democrat won the popular vote, the Republican, the felon, won the presidency anyway. This was not an out of the ordinary scenario. This happened before in the U.S. This is not an isolated incident. So just want to make sure you guys are aware of it. Oh, what's 2024? No. This is not an isolated incident. It just happened before. History is repeated for a reason. So now that being said, you guys also asked a very good question in that regard. You want to know, we're not going to ask anything about Newsom. This is just related to Harris only because I don't have a lot of time. So I hope that that's okay with you guys. Because I do have a dedicated video, in a separate video where I have, what do I have listed? What was the topic called? I'll show you what it says. Okay. Okay, so it says here, Gavin Newsom. It says here, Gavin Newsom not to be trusted. See that here? So eventually we'll make that video when it comes out. But as of right now, that's where we're at. Okay, so you made a good point. I don't think she'll run. I'm sure she's disappointed because of the cheating. What's to stop people from cheating again? Nothing. That's pretty much sure. Let's take a look at that. So Spirit Angels tell me, is Harris not going to run again because she feels like she was cheated? Is that what's happening? Okay, so we have the Knight of Pentacles. So remember that information that came out before, that threat? This is the card that was very dark, behind the scenes, dark web. This is the card that came out, the Knight of Pentacles. This is the dark information. This was the dark horse, if you will. And you have this pentacle, this thing that's being offered, and here's Temperance. Remember how I said that she's gonna get to this point mentally where she comes to this realization of accepting her loss for the presidency. That information gets revealed that no, she actually won, and then she goes through this type of denialism and then starts crashing and starts like not understanding what's really happening. She just goes through this whole shock phase, and it takes a while to process. And imagine for a while you tell yourself that you're crazy and that the election was not rigged, blah, 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 and people around you were telling you that, and that you were just wrong. There's no proof of it. Trump did it in 2020, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You go through this mental trauma. Then you finally get to the point of acceptance. And then you get told that, oh, no, that's actually not true. You actually won. And now you have to not only heal from that, but you also have to unlearn and undo all the healing that you did before that led you to be in the same point of mind. So it's going to take a little bit for Harris to get to a very same point. Not saying that she's not sane, but I'm just saying in a sense of the human complexity and the mindset, that's how it's going to play out. So we have here as well, we have this Knight of Pentacles and you have this Temperance card. And the card where we're asking is, does she feel like she cannot run because they're going to cheat again? There's information here that she has that was a dark horse. There was a threat here, like, we won, you think, blah, 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 you lost. And, whoopie-doo. She kind of knows that. Like, she's in that state of denialism, in that state of, oh my God, like that. Remember, it makes a lot of sense now when you start to ask all the questions, the story starts folding together a little bit. I want to ask this very specific question. Does Harris know the 2024 election was stolen? And does Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, the former Vice President, does she know that the 2024 election was stolen? Okay. What's the bomb deck here? We have tight. We have the 8 of Wands here. And indicated the 3 of Cups. So tight raise of a celebration. And who is this celebrating? The woman. Do you remember when I said the woman in the chair is the one who's empowered, the one who won, the one who's in control? This is the Queen of Cups here. This was a celebration, but it was a very tight one. It was a brutal victory, but yet you made it. Right? You have in the top of that is you have the woman instead. What happened to the woman instead in this timeline? The woman is in reverse. It's the Queen of Pentacles. She lost. But the cards on the bottom see something different. Right? The Queen of Pentacles, the woman lost the White House. right? There you go. Because she lost the White House. So let me tell you the story. So we have here the woman is not in control. She didn't win. She wasn't declared the victor because she didn't win the White House, right? She lost the House. She lost the Senate. She lost the White House. Right? She lost everything. A trifecta. Because of something that happened, a great tower moment. And America instead chose an old leader instead of a new leader. And because of this, a funeral is upon them. A funeral is upon the U.S. This is the reckoning. This is the story of the U.S. This is not an outlier. This is not a story of a rejection of Harris. This was the ending of the United States, the ending of the illusion. Donald Trump is the illusion. He represents the illusion, right? Harris would have only delayed that, right? So that's where we're at as a society. And we're asking the question is Harris aware that she won the election? The cards on the bottom have said she won, but on top of that, it says she lost, right? And here you have in this row is we have the star card. This is the presidency, right? This is the presidency. This is a woman running for the presidency. And you have here, you have against a former president. This is the King of Pentacles. This is the guy who was out of power. So she was running against a former president out of power, right? And therefore, she had the Page of Pentacles reversed. And the Page of Pentacles is an opportunity. But the opportunity wasn't here right now because this is the truth. This is the information. This is what she knows. This is what she's aware of. This is what she always knew internally. It's the Page of Pentacles. But this is the evidence, but it's reversed right now. The evidence doesn't get revealed on time. It gets revealed via delayed. And because of this delay, there needs to be enormous amount of proof. Because this is a strenuous accusation. This is the Three of Pentacles. This is the ballast, but ballast getting tossed out. Remember when I told you about that? Ballast getting tossed out. And here you have in the two of Swords reversed. It means with certainty when it's reversed. Yes, Harris knows the election was taken from her. She's aware of that. She knows that. That's why when I read on her today, her energy seemed to be very all over the place, but it seemed to have a story, if you will, right? Feels restricted. She feels like she cannot speak. Possibly as well, one of the also things that could factor into why Harris cannot speak could also be the simple fact that she knows what happened. And she feels like it's not time for the country to know yet, or maybe she feels like she hasn't yet healed from that. And so we're gonna figure out eventually over time, what does Harris know and why does she feel the way she does? But it definitely does feel like in this reading, it's not only coming in as um how she feels, but also what the energy is and the environment. So this is coming in as both. So keep that in mind as well. They're coming in as her personal feelings, her mental state, what she knows, her subconscious and her consciousness, but also the energy of the environment, not only now, but also in the future, in some way. Yeah, right? So, and with that said, we're going to leave off on one note. Is Harris going to run? And if she does, will she win? Is Harris going to run in 2028? And if she does, will she be elected and sworn in as the next president of the United States? If Harris runs for the U.S. presidency in 2028 and wins, here, oh, okay, so we have a death card here. Okay, so the death card. The death card means a reboot, a rebirth. The story replaying itself again. What does a reboot mean? A reboot is when you have an original story, original TV show, and a network picks it up and reboots the series. Think of it like that. Someone's going to pick Harris up and reboot the series. Right? I always got for a while, and I don't know if I said this on the channel yet, but I always got this indication internally that when this news breaks about Harris and things start to really move, her momentum goes from practically 4% in the polls and she shoots up to win the nomination and onward to the presidency. Because if the election is stolen from her, just hypothetically, right? Because this is YouTube and this is just for entertainment purposes only and for educational purposes only as well. But God forbid that was the circumstance here that we're talking about. It gets revealed that she did actually win, and there's substantial evidence and proof went into the Supreme Court, et cetera, et cetera. This will propel her momentum towards the White House. Whether it puts her in the White House is not very certain. She's going to be sworn in during Donald Trump's term. It's very unlikely. But can it propel her towards the next presidency? Pretty much, yeah, because it would also reverse all the things that people have been saying about her. Oh, she can't win. She's a terrible candidate, et cetera, that, et cetera. There's criticized. You ever notice some of the people here have criticized Harris? Simply because they said that she lost one race, but every other race prior to that, she won. You see what I'm getting? And now if you go watch my other videos in the past, and I have no shame in them, I have mentioned continuously that I did not like Harris at that time. I didn't. No, I didn't like Harris anytime during the Biden administration until towards the end. But I remained bipartisan in my reading. I remained bipartisan in my tarot card reading. And you're probably asking me now, like, Chris, what changed? I actually met Harris in my dream. She spoke to me before the election, and she was so sweet, so nice, so loving, so kind. She was just full of joy. I didn't know who I was going to vote for, right? Because, like I said, I don't announce who I'm voting for on the channel. I don't try to push an ad. I don't try to do any of that. I just tell you what the cards tell me, and that's it. So that's what I'm saying here. That sometimes you just got to not criticize somebody because you really never know what they're like. But try to understand the energy. Try to understand the frequency. And I'm only explaining this to you as well because I myself am human, right? And a lot of people forget that sometimes. We're all human, and we gotta take a step back and just say, let's not criticize you. Let's not be quick to judge. Just because you lost one race doesn't make you a terrible candidate. Doesn't make you a loser candidate. Think about all the odds that were stacked against her. Would you yourself have won? Would you have been happy if people told you that you were a terrible candidate because the odds were stacked against your favor? I don't think you would. So just, I'm not saying you support her or should endorse her. This is not what we're talking about. But just step in her shoes a little bit, just to understand what's happening here. I want to finish off the reading with one specific thing. Did I ever talk if she's gonna win? I don't think I ever did. Okay. So Spirit Angels tell me, will Harris win the 2028 presidential election? Will Harris run in 2028, and will she win the 2028 presidential election? Ooh. Oh, okay. Okay, is this a loss or is this a win? Okay, I get it. Okay, got it. What card? Okay, I have 2 homemade decks. Here, my guys are like, use your homemade deck. I have 2 homemade decks. Like, what? You gotta be a little bit more specific here. What do you want to use? You want to use my more direct or more word tarot deck? What one do you want? Okay, they're telling me index cards. Okay. So the way this works, guys, is if the color is white, it means it's minor arcana. Anything with the colors means that it's major arcana. That's really all you gotta know. All right, so Spirit Angels, tell me about Harris. If she decides to run in 2028, will she win? Give me the environment. Give me a color, guys. It's blue, teal, pink, yellow, or white. Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm seeing a card facing me, which is a little bit bizarre, but this card is... Oh, there's a lot of cards facing me. Why? That makes no sense. Okay. Well, I'll read it to you guys, but it's a little bit bizarre because this is in the wrong direction here. All right. This is the way it was. All right. So let me just read it to you, and then we'll full pick the cards actually. We have the word dead, which means reboot. Reboot of a leader, a past leader, a dead leader. Oh, is it literal? Maybe a dead leader. It could be a dead leader. So it could be the ending of Trump, could be the ending of Biden, could be end of a president. That this is telling us the environment. Turn on. So this is blue, this is dark blue, this is turn on. So something is on, and it's a warning of what's to come, which is the foundation. A warning of the foundation in the house, which is a caution. Who's in the house right now? Could be Trump, or in somebody's house, but there's a house. It means run, Forrest, run. You cannot outrun death. Why? Because God sees you. God sees you. Your time has ended. In the end. Okay. This is a pure of heart. Pure at heart. Is this a good person? I don't know. We have it's not a collapse. So this person is going to die peacefully. Someone's going to die peacefully in their sleep. It's going to be a beautiful one. This person is going to die beautifully. This is a beautiful one. So someone is going to die, and it's going to be beautiful. Huh. That's a little bit bizarre. Okay. All right. So Jen says teal. Okay. I'm getting pulled to this here. So is this the one, or is the one right here? Right here? Okay, this one. Okay, this is your card. All right. If Harris won the 2028, tell us. What do we need to know? Will she win? What's gonna happen in the environment? Oh, by the way, I can't actually see. Like, it really looks like that. Okay. That's it. All right, so the first card that comes in is we have the 11th hour. So it's no longer the 11th hour. I mean, this is midnight. The clock is strike midnight on something. We have here what is coming in at midnight. This is passion. This is last minute passion. This is excitement. There is a last minute excitement. But it also means as well someone's fire is dwindling. Somebody's passion is ending. You also have here look the other way. Look the other way. And you have here a collapse in reverse. Interesting. Okay, guys, let me know in the comment section below or the live chat what you think this might mean. Okay, so this is talking about the 2028 election. If Harris decides to run, will she win? We have here the first card that comes in is the 6 of Pentacles. It's reverse. This is telling me here that, okay, so because the 6 of Pentacles reversed, it's indicating to me in particular, okay, so she decides to run, right? It's indicating to me in particularly, okay, so she's running. It's saying, okay, so the odds are going to be against those who rig the system. The justice is on the right side, but it's going to happen at midnight. Something happened and the system changed it, like the software changed it and reversed back. Like there's a glitch in the system. There's a glitch in the voting booth. There's a glitch. And the actual results come down, not the result that was already premeditated. The actual results come down. And underneath here, we have here troubled water moving to smoother, calmer water, with the 6 of Swords reverse. Is it trouble? And the fire card is reversed. This means I do with passion. I do with passion, but it's reversed. I do with stillness. I'm hearing the word stillness. I do with silence, maybe. Interesting. Because under here we have the Sword card, like the presidency, and it says here underneath it, it means look the other way. Underneath the presidency, look the other way. Because you have the 11th hour, you have here the results, something in the software system glitches, and actual results come down. We end up in trouble. Something ends up in trouble because there was Either possibly it could be a fire in the voting booth, first of all, and that could have been what triggers the glitch. But something's here is telling you to look at the presidency, but look the other way. Don't look at what's going on in the election. Look at other things, because something here is not telling us what we want to see. Don't look to the obvious. Look to what's not as obvious. Look to what other people are not looking at. Because what action is can Harris win? We have here, these two cards came up. The Tower card and the Death card. Remember how we said that there was going to be a death of a leader, a president? That's a little bit bizarre. The Death card comes in, a Tower card, a collapse. We talked about the death and a collapse, but it's going to be a beautiful death for this individual. My God. But we also remember as well, I talked about as well how Biden and Harris's life and soul path are very interconnected. So if Biden goes, so does Trump, or if Trump goes, so does Biden. Their life is very much interconnected. And you have here, you have the Tower card and the Death card here. It's also telling me here that the only way that she can win is she has to run against the incumbent president. She cannot win running against when the party's in the White House. She can only run when there's a Republican or a different party in the White House. As long as she's running as her own party, the party that she's running under cannot be in the White House. That's how she wins. That's how she becomes president. That's the only way. We also have here as well, we have here looking at the eye. Something is being looked at. Something's being looked at. The evidence is being looked at. And this is the card that represented Biden and Harris administration. This is the card that represented the Biden-Harris administration. And it doesn't indicate a collapse. So possibly it's not a collapse of her campaign. Maybe the collapse of the institution, of the system, or the government. Something collapses, but it's not her campaign. We're going to have to look more into 2028. I'm actually pretty curious. Alright guys, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys appreciate the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. This will be part 1 of a multi-series for Harris and finding out what is happening in the 2028 presidential election. Until then, I love you. Have a great night, guys. I'll see you soon. Peace out.